All right. Welcome to Color Theory. I'm Professor Olson. I'm your instructor, and in attendance also is Omar Martinez. Omar and I, who you all know, developed this curriculum together, and we're going to be co-teachers this month for you guys. So it should be a fun month. So far, we've only got Julian here. That's me. Okay, so you can email me and I will get it. Sending messages on FSO is the worst way to get a hold of me, but potentially I will answer. Omar, same thing, email. But the best way to get a hold of us is through Slack. Please sign up for the course for Color Theory. Hold on. Dana's back. All right. So if you're watching this on video, stop the recording, go to Slack, and join up.
Hey, Dana.
What was that, Omar?
Dana was saying hi.
Sorry,
Hey, Dana.
Mike wasn't.
All right, you're welcome. So just to reiterate, go to Slack. Now, the thing about Slack is I'll be on there, Omar will be on there at various times a day. There are other instructors who will also be there. If you have simple questions, something that's like holding you up and you're not really sure what to do at the moment, Slack is a great resource because we can help you get past a little hitch. Occasionally we can do one-on-one live sessions, you know, through Zoom, and that'll help you too. The instructional materials has everything you need to get this done, but we know things come up, things get confusing, so that's why we're there for you. All right, what are you learning this month? You're gonna learn a little bit of science of color theory, a little bit of its cultural psychological application, color management. We're gonna do a real world marketplace type assignment, some image processing, color management through Pantone, and a little bit about print technology. This is how our month looks. So we're meeting every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9:30 a.m. It may seem early to some of you, but it's worth attending. It's much better to be here than it is to watch a recording, in my opinion. Certainly Dana and Julian agree. This schedule is in the virtual classroom discussion, and I'll just go there so you can see. So when you go to your assignments here, virtual classroom, this is basically a discussion I created for the recordings of our live sessions. So if I go to the discussion, you will see, after today, it's the first one, you will see posted here the videos of our recordings of both lab and lecture. So that's where you find them if you haven't attended. We'll also post them to Slack, but you should always check in here and see what's up, what we're talking about. All right, back to this. The first project we're going to do is called the Hero Portrait, and that's going to take up about 4 sessions. And then the rest of the month will be our brand identity project, which we'll go into detail later on. We're going to use Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. Have either of you guys had experience with InDesign? Dana and Julian? I know Omar has.
I have.
Yeah.
A little bit?
Yeah, I went to school in upstate New York for graphic design.
Really? Where was that?
So we worked in Cobleskill. A lot of people know. It's like a small little town just outside of Albany.
Oh, okay.
It was a state school.
Yeah. Like SUNY Cobleville.
Yeah, SUNY Cobleskill, exactly. It was nothing too crazy.
Well, InDesign, we're going to give you some templates to work with. So you're going to have a head start on it, but hopefully you'll gain some better experience with it as you go along through the month. And we're going to see you evolve and create your own look to the templates. So that's basically how we're using it. You're not going to have to like start from scratch and create a whole new thing. So Photoshop is where you push pixels around. Illustrator is where you make logos and vector art. And InDesign is really where we bring it all together. Omar says it's his moneymaker. InDesign helps you create print layouts, booklets. It can help you mock up websites. It does interactive presentations. It's an incredibly flexible tool. You can even use it just to organize photos and things like that. So it's really an essential tool for a graphic designer. So we're giving you the intro, and you will continue to learn about InDesign as you go through the program. Here's a list of all the assignments and how they rank out in points. Each assignment sort of builds on the previous one. So if you miss one, you really can't go on to the next one. You want to be able to keep going, keep up with every assignment. That means that you will always be turning in work, even if you don't feel like it's 100%, because you got to make the next step. We have integrated learning modules. When we're on campus, these count for attendance, but they're also part of your, enhanced. It's going to be one of those days, man. All right, we're still recording, amazingly. All right, I dropped off for some reason. Hold on, I'm just going to try to make sure my internet connection is correct. I keep getting these messages. My internet connection is unstable. All right, are you seeing my screen now?
Hello, Christian.
Yes.
Integrated learning.
Yeah, all right. So these are integrated learning modules. Some of them, like color separations, are part of your hero portrait. So you really just have to submit those once you get them done. Other things are reading to learn more about design. There is a test. And I'll tell you this about the test. If you don't know the answer to a question on the test, you can ask me and I'll tell you. And this goes for anybody who's watching this video or attending live session. Now you know the secret to getting 100 on the test. All right, so enough housekeeping. Let's talk about color. Only those who love color are admitted to its beauty and imminent presence. It affords utility to all, but unveils its deeper mysteries only to its devotees. All right, this is Johannes Itten. He was a Swiss designer. You're looking at one of his paintings here. What do you think? Let's talk about what he's talking about here. So he says, color affords utility to all. How is color useful? Can you think of ways it's useful?
Oh, we use it to identify things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, we identified things in various ways, we do color coding to organize files and things like that. What else?
One quick question, Peter, real quick.
Yes.
Christian, did you get a text announcement or Slack?
Did I?
I sent out a text. I'm just wondering if Christian got it.
Oh.
No, go. All right. No worries.
All right. All right. So yeah, it's useful in sort of organizing things. We use it to identify flavors, for instance, right? If you see a can of soda and it's green, what flavor is it?
A lemon or lime.
Yeah, right. We use it for, red light, green light. So it's pretty useful. And I would say most people have some experience with color, like they've used it, everyone in kindergarten has that experience. Like you mix finger paints, you're mixing some blue and some yellow, it becomes green. It's kind of amazing. But devotees, we need to become devotees of color. So as designers, you're professionals. You deal with color as part of your trade, as part of what you deal with. So I will tell you this, that color is a huge, enormous, deep topic, full of wonderful things. And this month, we will give you the essentials of what you need to know as a designer, but also hoping to set you on a path of learning about color on your own so that you become a devotee. You'll learn and learn and learn. Like I've been, when I started teaching this course, I had almost 30 years experience in design, and I've learned so much from just teaching this course in the last few years. We certainly, when you see it used and you start to analyze color, you see more and more. It's just like an onion peel, keeps coming back more and more and more. So that's what I'd say to you. Our mission is to turn you into a devotee. So we all see color. How we talk about it is really crucial. As a designer, you have to be able to articulate aspects of color to use it properly. When you think about it, color is the most effective tool in our toolkit. As a designer, you might use type. Type is really important. You put a word on a page, it has to be in a language the viewer can read and understand. They read the word, they get the idea, it gets into their brain, and you've communicated. Think about how color works. It comes right into us. It zooms into our soul. It actually affects us so that we use it to describe our emotions, right? That's how important color is to us as humans. All right, here's red. What comes to mind when you guys see red?
Power.
Power, yeah.
Or anger.
Anger, yep. No wrong answers here. Whatever pops in your head. The only wrong answer is a non-answer.
You could do romance or like catch up.
Ketchup? But what was the first thing you said, Christian?
I said romance.
Romance, yes. Stop signs, ketchup. Some people say love, passion, right? So also hate, love and hate, both red. How is that possible? How can one color be things that are opposite? What do you guys think? I think in the case of red, it's about intensity, right? It's not like or not like, it's love and hate. It's very intense. Every color has a sort of paradox to it. It sort of can symbolize one thing or the opposite, and it depends on how you use it. So becoming a master of color really means that when people see red, when you use red, it means what you want it to mean. And that's one of our goals as designers. Here's pink. What comes to mind when you see pink?
Girly, like blush tones.
Flesh tones, yeah. It tends to be certain people's flesh tones, yeah.
Oh, I said blush tones, like girly things.
Girly things, yes. It tends to be associated with femininity. Yeah, bubble gum. Stop signs. No, that's red. Yeah. Yeah, it tends to be sort of youthful and sometimes feminine, but not always. And it can be also sort of sultry and but it can be youthful, you know. It can be pink bunnies or pink lingerie, depending on how you use it. Orange, what comes to mind when you see orange?
Something
Nothing?
that stands out.
You're trying to get your attention a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem to be kind of a hot color. Orange is in Home Depot. Yeah, orange is used as a branding element for a lot of brands, including Full Sail uses orange. We're in Orange County here. It also autumn, perhaps, pumpkins, Halloween. It can be sort of a symbol of creativity, stimulation, but it can also be kind of crass and loud. Here's yellow. What comes to mind when we see yellow?
Bright and happy.
Yes, yellow's happy, for sure, right? Big field of flowers, daisies smiling up at you. But yellow can also be a sign of warning, danger. Like if you see a snake and it has yellow stripes, that's not good, right? Again, there's a paradox there. Every color kind of has these two sides to it. It depends on how you use it. Blue, what comes to mind when we see blue?
Like calm or like sad.
Calm, sadness, yes. We like kind of a low energy, the ocean blue, but it can also be blue suits, corporate, very conservative in some circles. How about green? What comes to mind when you see green? Nature, yeah, Christian.
I guess it could be associated with greed.
Greed, yeah. Money sometimes. So these are almost kind of like opposite things. Nature, the green earth, healthy, right? But it could also be acid, toxic waste, radioactivity. When you're playing a video game, you see something glowing green. Here's yellow and green, right? So it all depends on how you use these colors, what they mean, and how they affect people. Make sense? Everybody with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Oh yeah, nausea. So if you're eating green, you're healthy. If you're feeling green, you're sick. It's kind of weird, but yeah. Color is also about your eyes, how your eyes work. You need to understand that a little bit. Our eyes have a lens in the front and it focuses the image on the back of the eye. That's where there's an area called the fovea, where all the nerves that receive color exist. There are two kinds of nerves. So we have these cones and rods. The rods help you see in the dark. And my eye doctor told me if you eat a lot of vitamin K, dark leafy greens, it will help your night vision. So keep that in mind. The cones come in three kinds. There's red, green, and blue, and each one of them senses the light in a different way so that our brain is then able to put together all the colors we see in the world. These cones sometimes are defective, or sometimes through birth defect in a way they're missing, and this would cause color blindness. So what I'm showing you next here is a color blindness test. Can everybody read the numbers in these circles, starting with the upper left? Everyone say it together. 7,
6.
6, yeah. 26.
Is that 23?
I think it's 73, 74, and 45. If you can't see those numbers, you might be colorblind. All right.
Honestly, I can't see the 73.
The 70.
I can see everyone else, but I can't see 73.
Can you see something there, but you can't really read it?
Yeah, I can see the 3. I can't see the 7.
Okay, well, you're okay. It's just sort of the way it's rendered. Plus, you're doing it through a Zoom, through a keynote. So don't worry.
Thought I was colorblind.
If you couldn't see it at all, if you couldn't see any difference at all, that would mean you were colorblind. Now, I've had students who were colorblind, didn't know it until they got to this slide in my lecture. You know, like 20 years of their life, and they didn't know, which is kind of remarkable. But if you are colorblind, not to worry, there are incredible tools to help you design with color just like everybody else. You'll learn these tools as you go through the course.
I'm actually colorblind to red and green only.
You are?
Yeah, but I've learned to like cope with it, I guess.
Yes, right. And there's tools, like I said, to help you deal with that. So there's also believed to be a condition called tetrachromacy, which, you know, we have 3 cones, but there's some people they think might have 4 cones. They would only be women because of the X chromosome, and they actually can see more colors than the rest of us. So the story I heard on this, the interviewer said he was with this woman who he believed to be a tetrachromat, and he said, we're looking at the blue sky, and he said, do you see blue? And she says, yeah, I also see pink. Like, there's no pink there. Well, she's just using the word pink to describe something she's seeing that the rest of us can't see. So having that common language really kind of helps us communicate about color, and that's why we talk about color. All right, stare at the white dot in the center of this flag, and I'll tell you what's happening to your eyes. One of the great features of human beings is that we adapt to our surroundings. So if you go from bright sunlight into a dark room, at first you really can't see very well, and then your eyes adjust to the darker room, and then you can see well. You go back out into the sunlight, and again, your eyes have to adjust to the brighter light, and then you can see again normally. The same is true with color. If you stare at one color for a long time, your eyes try to adjust to normalize that color, and then when it's removed, you'll suddenly see the opposite for a brief period until your eyes sort of normalize again. Did everybody see the flag?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So it's important to know as a designer that your eyes can fool you a little bit. And if you stare at one color for a long time, you sort of become desensitized to it. So you want to refresh your palette, so to speak. We also use lots of terms to talk about color, to understand it, to contain it. One of these tools, which is so useful, is the spectrum. Roy G. Biv, you ever heard that before? It stands for red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. And you're looking at the spectrum there. This represents the electromagnetic waves that we can see as human beings. On the left side, beyond red, is what we cannot see. What's that called? You can't see it, but you can feel it. When you go out in the sunlight, you feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. That's infrared light hitting you. So infrared, which is warm. On the other end is, any guesses? Ultraviolet. So you can't really see ultraviolet, but if you use a black light, you start to see it a little bit. So in the middle here is what we get to see as humans. That's the spectrum. The word spectrum was invented by Sir Isaac Newton. Ever heard of him? Newton developed his laws of universal gravitation, which enable us to launch satellites and put people on the moon and all that. So, and he did that in the 1600s. So interesting story. Newton was at Oxford and they had the plague. So they sent everyone home from school. They didn't have distance learning back then. So he just studied on his own and came up with the universal laws of gravitation while he was at home on leave from the pandemic. He was like 20 years old at the time. He also did experiments with light, and he put a prism in his window shade. And when he saw the resulting colors, he speculated that the white light was being broken down into its component parts, which he called the spectrum. He came up with that word. People said, you're crazy, it's just the glass is adding color to the light. And he proved them wrong by taking another prism, turning it back into white light. And for reasons he couldn't possibly have known, he was correct. But, you know, photons, which are both particles and waves, hit the glass, the wavelengths slow down at different rates. And so it really breaks it out. And that's exactly what's happening. So amazing, Isaac Newton. There are other scientists. Louis Prang was a famous scientist, came up with the red, yellow, and blue primaries, invented the Christmas card. Ostwald was another scientist. This is his color wheel, which is kind of an interesting color wheel. White on the top, black on the bottom, three-dimensional. The Bauhaus was a big influence on color, using primary colors only. They were very focused on using primary colors in architecture and art. This is a painting by Mondrian. Johannes Itten, who gave us the quote from the beginning, he was a member of the Bauhaus, Swiss designer, had a book called Elements of Color, and had this idea of color chords, like musical chords. One of his students was Joseph Albers, who had the theory that color is relative. Color looks different based on the surrounding color. He did hundreds of paintings like this with different surrounds around different colors. So just to show you what he's talking about. So if you see the blue, the sort of purplish blue square in the middle of these, they look different because of the surrounds, but they're actually just the same color. Describing color, like we said, is important. Does it pop? Does it have depth? This is a painting by Mark Rothko. Anybody heard of him? Anybody seen this painting before or anything like it? What do you guys think of it? Have I lost everybody? Yeah, looks like pastel, right? So Rothko was part of an art movement called minimalism in the mid 20th century. And his painting, this is the breakthrough idea. Prior to this, paintings were of something, always a window into another world. But this painting is not of anything. It's actually just color for its own sake. And there is some artistry to it. These paintings are like 15 feet tall, and they're worth looking at and thinking about. You may say, my 2-year-old cousin could do that. But take a look, is all I'm saying. Color structure, we use all kinds of tools to understand color, including notation systems like this. This is from the YMCA graphics standards. And by the time you're done with this class, you'll have spec'd out colors just like this with all these numbers. So you'll know what all these mean. All right, let's talk about the color wheel. Super useful tool. It gives us an understanding of what we call color relationships. So first off, we have the primaries. What makes a primary a primary?
It's the original color.
Yeah, it can't be made from other colors. If you mix two primaries, you get what's called a secondary color. If you mix a primary and a secondary, you get a tertiary, and then this way we have a 12-step color wheel. We're going to use a 12-step color wheel like this for our hero portrait, our first assignment. When you think of the relationship, it's almost like a family tree there. We have these terms that we use for color: hue, saturation, brightness, and value. Now, you may have heard these terms and used them, but I'm going to give you the clear meaning so that we all are on the same page with this. First off, sorry. Keynote and Zoom do not like each other, which is why, Omar, how many times have I said this? I got to switch to InDesign.
Telling you.
It's going to happen this month. All right. Let's see. Recent file. How about that one? All right. Wow. Doesn't want to work. All right. There we go. Hue. Hue is... this may happen sooner than later. All right, if I don't go into presentation mode, it should work. All right. Hue. Hue is where you are on the color wheel. When you look at your color picker in the programs, let's get this bigger. All right, so if you're looking at your color picker, you have these three little radio buttons: hue, saturation, brightness. If you select, okay, if you select hue, this strip here becomes a color wheel. Do you see that that's a color wheel? It's just cut and stretched out into a strip. A hue is always described in degrees. That's what this little circle means. And we're talking like degrees on a compass, going 360 around the compass, right? So if you can see in this color picker, the hue is set to 0 degrees, which is clearly red. What would the 360 degrees be? Any guesses?
Wouldn't it just come back around?
Yeah, it would be back to red. 360 and 0 are the same. Yeah, so true north is red. All right. If you select the brightness selector, this becomes a brightness slider. It's measured in percentages. Brightness is a measure of how much black is in the color. So 100% brightness is no black, full color, and 0% brightness is black. It seems a little counterintuitive because the word brightness doesn't bring to mind black, but just remember the letter B, brightness, black, they both start with B. And this is on the test. So you'll get this right on the test if you're watching this right now. Saturation, when the saturation sliders, radio buttons selected, this becomes a saturation slider. 0% saturation is white. 100% is pure color. So between hue, saturation, brightness, you can manipulate colors to all the colors you want. These are great tools. We have other indicators. So when you look at your color picker, all of these numbers represent whatever color you've chosen. They're just different ways of interpreting that color. So in an HSB slider, this is 0, 100, 100. In RGB, it'd be 255, 00. In CMYK, it's 0, 99, 100, 0. You can see the hex number, that's for web. Lab, which we will not use. So that's how to interpret all those numbers. Value, we talk about value in terms of light and dark, and that's independent of hue. So you can have two different hues that are the same value, or the same hue can have different values. So we're going to make a color wheel, and you can do this along with me. We're going to open Illustrator. And create a new document. I'm just going to pick this web size. Color mode should be RGB. It can be 72 dpi. This just horizontal so it fits on my screen. And this is my page for my color wheel that we're going to create. All right, so I want my color wheel to be centered on the page. So I'm going to go to the Artboard palette here. If you don't have that open, you can go to Window, Artboards. And I'm going to click on this little icon of the artboard, and that brings up my artboard options. And on this, I'm going to say show center mark. And when I do that, I get a nice center mark. All right. Next thing I'm going to do is hit Command R to bring up my rulers. Command R brings up the rulers, and with the rulers up, I can click on the ruler and drag out a guide across my center mark. And then I'm going to do the same for the top, bring it down, and so now I have guides, basically my documents into quadrants. Now, this doesn't have to be super, super precise right now because we're just doing a color wheel as an exercise. But if you were actually working on something and you really want it to be centered, you should zoom in really tight on that and get it right. All right, everybody with me so far? Everyone's nodding their head, right?
Yeah.
All right. Hit L on the keyboard. What's that do? This is so I know you've got Illustrator open and you're doing this. Ellipse, yes, Christian. It gives you the ellipse tool. All right, so with the ellipse tool selected, I'm going to position my cursor close to the top, down a little bit, and I'm going to make a perfect circle, but I want it to come out from the center. So I'm going to hold Shift and Option down at the same time and drag out a circle from my center point like that. And there, I've got the top of my color wheel set up. Currently, this has a black stroke on it. That's the default. I'm going to turn that stroke off because I don't want it. And now I'm going to go to my fill. What color do we want at the top of our color wheel? 0 degrees. Yes, Christian, red. All right, so I click on the fill. Brings up my picker. Now, what degree is red? Dana, you said it before?
0.
0, yeah, but I got 0 degrees. Why isn't it red?
Is it the saturation?
Yes, 100 points for Hufflepuff. All right, we got 100% saturation, 100% brightness, 0 degrees. If I say okay, I got a red circle. Everybody with me in the red circle?
Yes.
All
Yes.
right.
We're in the red.
We're in the red. All right. So we want to rotate this around the center. I'm going to hit R on the keyboard. R gives me the rotate tool, right? So I still have this circle selected. I've got my rotate tool. I'm going to position it in this on the center mark that I created earlier, close as I can, and hit the Option key and click once, and that brings up the rotate tool dialog box. Now we want to make a 12-step color wheel, 12 steps around 360. How many times does 12 go into 360?
30.
30, that's right. And type 30, and then I'm going to hit copy. So now I've got a copy. I still have it selected. I'm going to hit Command D on the keyboard, and that duplicates the last action. And I'm going to keep hitting Command D until I'm 12 steps around.
How did you open up that menu? I'm sorry to cut you off.
That's all right. Coming back. All right. So with this circle selected, I have the rotate tool. I option click in the center of the page. It brings up the rotate tool dialog box. You with me so far?
I got it. Thank you.
All right. Then you type 30 and hit copy. Command D duplicates the last action, and I keep copying until I've got 12 steps. All right. We've got our 12 steps for the color wheel. Now, I'm going to select the top position here. If you think of it like a clock, that's 12 o'clock. Hold down Shift, select 4. With Shift still selected, click 8. So 12, 4, and 8. Those are my 3 primary spots. So I want these circles to be bigger than the rest of the circles. So with those 3 selected, I'm going to go up here to Object, Transform, Transform Each. I'm going to hold this for a second so you can see it. Transform, Transform Each. This keyboard command is Option, Shift, Command, D. But I would never remember that. Omar, you probably memorize that.
Yes.
All right. So if you go to Transform Each, you bring up this dialog box. Now, what I want to do is make each one of these bigger, but proportionally. So I'm going to scoot this up to like 125, maybe. You can do it as much as you want or as little as you want, but just so they're a little different than the rest, but make sure they're even, 125 each. And I say, okay. I've got my 3 primaries designated. All right, now we get to color this. So we've already got red. What's going to go over here on our color wheel?
Yellow.
Yellow. All right, so let's click on the fill, double click. Go to the hue slider and slide this up till you get to where you think yellow is and tell me what number that is. Any ideas? All right, I'm going to slide it up here. I'm at 62 degrees on the color wheel. To me, that looks like yellow, so I'm going to say okay, and I've got yellow. Now I want to do blue, right? So double click on the fill. Where should blue be? What number?
236.
236 sounds good. All right, 236. Oops. All right, we've got red, yellow, blue. Next up are our secondary colors. So between red and yellow, right here in the middle, what color should that be? How about orange?
Yes.
All right. So what number do you think orange should be, Dana?
I mean, 35 looked pretty good.
Yeah, 35 looks good. So we'll go with that. All right. Between yellow and blue here. What number?
Would that be 180?
180 would be somewhere around here.
Oh, never mind.
I would probably come down to like 135, maybe, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now between red and blue, what number? You can almost tell it's like 303, something like that. For violet. All right, now it's just a matter of filling out the tertiary colors. So between red and orange would be sort of a red-orange. I'm going to go here and slide it up a little bit. Maybe like 22. Between orange and yellow, I'm going to go here between, let's see, maybe 45. Between yellow and green here, sort of 80, 79 I'm getting. Between green and blue here, it's going to be like a turquoise color, somewhere in there, like 182. Between blue and violet, I would say somewhere around there, 268 I got. Between violet and red, more like this. All right, this could be, I'm not in love with this one. There, that's better. All right, color wheel, done, right? So we created this in RGB color space. Now, RGB stands for red, green, blue. In RGB color space, our red, green, and blue are the primary colors, but we did a red, yellow, blue color wheel. So things look a little off maybe in the green area somewhat, you know, like where yellow is. So let's go up here to the file menu, go to document color mode and switch to CMYK and tell me what happens when you do that. I'll do it too. There we go. What happened to my colors?
Lost their saturation.
Yeah, they look sort of dull, right? The reason for that is because there are more colors in RGB color space than there are in CMYK. So when I bump it to CMYK, suddenly these colors, they can't be represented the way they were. For instance, if I go to this green and I look at the fill, now remember, before we had 100% saturation and 100% brightness, but now they've come down because they can't, that old color couldn't be represented in CMYK. So if I go, oops, I want to go back. So I go to color mode, I go back to RGB, nothing changes because these colors exist in RGB. And so I would have permanently lost the RGB colors if I didn't make a copy of this. As it stands, I can undo a couple times and get back to that vibrant color. So like if I look at this green again, 100% brightness saturation. All right, so two things we're trying to accomplish with this assignment, with what we just did, this exercise. Understand how to use the color picker and understand the difference between RGB and CMYK. You guys feel like you got that?
Yes, I do.
Dana's good. Julian, all right.
Yep.
All right, now what I want you to do with your color wheel, if you haven't completed it, you can finish it later, but you can save this as an AI file and upload it to the color wheel assignment on FSO. which is, wait, it's up here, color wheel. I'm gonna change the due date, the published date to today. All right, so that's where you're gonna go and post that. And guess what? If you post that, you get 100% A+ for the day. So you're off to a great start in color theory. All right, back to our lecture. All right, so we talk about color a lot. There are great tools for understanding color, and one of them is Pantone. I forgot, I can't do that. All right, I don't think I'm gonna be able to run this video. Pantone, you ever heard of Pantone Colors, PMS, Pantone Matching System? Hey, is this gonna work? All right, so they have these books they print with colors in little swatches, and then there's a number underneath each one. That number is a way of coding colors. So if I want to print something and I tell a printer in California that I want a PMS 186 red, he will open a Pantone book like this, look for 186 red, and know exactly what color I'm talking about, and be able to mix ink to match that color. So it's an extremely useful system, especially when it comes to print. People use it for all kinds of things, including, you know, industrial manufacturing and, you know, posters, all kinds of stuff. These books cost like $500 a piece, so we're not going to hand them out, but we're going to show you some techniques for figuring out your own Pantone colors. And this is a video about Pantone that is pretty useful, so hopefully this will play, and if it's not playing properly, let me know in the chat window.
We sit in a really unique vantage point. We're touching.
Sorry. Try it again.
We sit in a really unique vantage point, touching so many different industries. Fashion, interiors, cosmetics, industrial design. We're able to really look at that broad array of color trends and preferences and bring them into the new systems that we launch here.
The first time I heard of Pantone was when I was designing for print, and I discovered how I needed these little paper chips to do anything. Pantone gives color form, it gives shape, system, organization to color, and we all need color for everything. Color is infinite. You can always split the difference between two colors. In the development of the Pantone Plus series, our color engineers picked out points within color space for us to create a new color. We inputted that point into the formulation system and developed a specific recipe. Once we have this ink recipe, our ink technicians turn it into an ink, turn it into a print, and from that point on, the birth of the new color exists.
Sometimes we're looking at color ranges that exist and we're just getting a little more complex. Other times we're adding brand new color categories like the neons, the pastels, and the new colored metallics.
If you're going into production, the word from the printer or the supplier is, you know, give me a Pantone. What Pantone is it? I'll match it. I mean, the things that I've learned throughout my career in working with major brands is that color accuracy is really important. Consistency is a measure of a brand, and if it's the same every time, you win. If it's slightly different each time, it's awful.
This is the Pantone press run. 2 printing presses that drive the manufacture of all Pantone publications. This press is the manufacturing key to Pantone. This press allows us to print 28 colors in one impression through the press. There is no other printing press in the world that can do this. We have a very unique place in the ecosystem that is color design. So as we were looking at new product development, we were listening to our customers, and they were telling us we want more color. We want a new design that's more intuitive. We want digital tools. So Pantone Plus is really the result of that kind of input from designers across platform, across the world. $224 new colors were added, and the digital solutions that we married up with them allow them to be used in current workflows. Pantone Color Manager is software that we're releasing is Pantone Plus. It is a digital representation of all of our fan decks, and it allows a designer or anyone working with Pantone colors to be able to push those digital values into all of their design applications. And over the history of the development of the book, new sections have been added on at the end, which broke the family orientation of the book. The book has been reordered now so that all families of colors are next to each other in a predictable manner. My favorite Pantone color? 32 red.
We use color in design to convey certain feelings, emotions, or meanings. I use Pantone as kind of a universal color language. I actually don't know what I would do if we didn't have the Pantone chip. I guess I would take a client out on the streets and point to the cab and say, is that the yellow you want? I really don't know.
I think color is one of the most powerful things in the world. I think the ability for there to be these stories in color, just because there's more, I think is going to be great.
So there are other color systems you'll see built into your apps, but I can tell you that in all my years of experience, I've never used any of them, only Pantone. Pantone has been sort of the supreme leader in color matching systems over the years. Munsell, I'm told, has some value in terms of industrial design, but Pantone is really the key. So you're going to do a color collage to understand how to set up some Pantone colors. And so I'll go to FSO and show you what I'm talking about. So it's down here. It's ILM number 2, color collage. When you go in here, there's some brief instructions. You will download this color collage PDF, which has all the instructions for the assignment. And this file here, color collage numbers. Normally in class, I'd assign a color, but I'll leave it up to you guys to pick. When you click on this, I'll show you what it looks like. Pick one of these colors, and that's going to be the color you use for your color collage. This video shows you how to get your Pantone out from this PNG file, how to pick it out. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in and find all these things like a scavenger hunt. I'll show you what this looks like. So this is like a mood board that a interior designer would use. So it has a car, art, texture, clothing, cosmetics, all these things. You're sort of exploring the world of color a little bit. But you're going to do it based on the Pantone color that you picked, the color that you picked, and you're going to find the Pantone number and put it all together in a collage. This is really more of an exercise than a real design assignment. So it's worth 1% of your grade. Do not stress over it, but do the best you can and have some fun with it. These are some student examples. And you will be graded on which car you pick. Just kidding. Any questions about that? I'm not going to go over it right now in detail because you have all the information you need in the assignment. Is everybody still with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So we've been going for a little over an hour. Let's take a 10-minute break, come back at 10:50, and we'll go over the hero portrait assignment, which is going to be your first major project for the week. So 10-minute break, come back, and we'll hit it up. All right. Let's see, does this work? Nope. All right. For a painter, gray is the richest color, the one that makes all others speak. Paul Klee. So this is one of his paintings. He was a part of the abstract movement of the early 20th century. What does gray do for us in art? Like, what do we use grays? Light, dark? What does that help us depict?
I guess shading for like depth.
Yeah, shading and depth. Yeah, it helps us establish the illusion of light and shadow. Yeah, values. So we're going to work on a hero portrait. We're going to start with value. Value and contrast are the foundations of all the art we're going to do. It's really important to have a good understanding of that moving forward with color, because it's almost like the architecture underneath and the color is like the skin on top. Even digitally, interestingly, you know, our digital files have all the black and white information built in, and the device that they go to establishes the color. So it's kind of the way things work. If you look at this, this is a drawing by Degas, and you know Degas did these great pastel drawings of the ballet dancers. Loved color, fantastic impressionist, but he also understood the importance of understanding light and shadow, black and white. He did lots of pencil sketches, trying to understand how light creates shape and dimension in artwork. Matisse, who also loved color, worked in black and white. They understood how value was this underlying foundation that they needed to understand. And then here's Degas' drawing of Matisse. So you're going to do a hero portrait, and I'm just going to show you some things for inspiration. So a portrait of somebody that you admire, but you're creating a piece of artwork. So we want you to think very creatively about this assignment. This is not the same as just sort of creating your own self-portrait. You're going to tell a story a little bit with the portrait. And just using black and white to start. So we're calling this the hero worship. So your hero, the reason we're saying hero, first of all, it used to be a self-portrait, but you do too many self-portraits. I want you to pick somebody that you care about. The more you care about your hero, the better work you'll do. You'll be more deeply involved. So give it some thought about who your hero is. And then you're going to turn it into a t-shirt illustration. So we're going to simulate as if you were doing this for screen printing onto a t-shirt. So here are the rules. It can be any person, living or dead, but it cannot be a fictional character. So you could do a family member, somebody from history, somebody living, you know, people have done their brothers and sisters, mother and father, grandfather, whoever you admire and have an interest in creating a portrait of. The first part, as I said, is creating the black and white art. We're going to go over how to do that. Here are some student examples. So this student did H.P. Lovecraft, who was an author, and he wrote stories about sea monsters and stuff. So he didn't just do sort of a headshot. He created a piece of art that has additional elements in it that tell the story of his hero. Now, here are the rules for this assignment. Black and white, light gray, and dark gray. That's all you get to use. No gradients, no drop shadows, special effects, different things. Don't you do it in Photoshop. You're going to do it in Illustrator. And we want flat color, not gradients. This is to simulate screen printing. So this is the discipline that you're following. Now, it's restrictive in a certain way, but it also sort of frees you up to be more creative with the composition. Here's another student example. This is a hero from World War II. We sort of made this V for victory. A couple of key things. So it's sort of like a freestanding piece of artwork. It's not in a frame. This one looks like it's in a frame, but it actually was freestanding as well. Frida Kahlo. And she did this sort of low poly thing. So it creates the illusion of another gray, even though it's just really two grays plus black and white. This is Simon Bolivar, the hero of Venezuela, and sort of a haunting portrait with this interesting effect here. But again, freestanding, not in a frame. Nelson Mandela. You could add a couple of words if you want. This is this guy who has a TV show, Top Gear, which is about cars. So there's like a racing flag and a gear. You can see light gray, dark gray, black and white. That's it. You know who this guy is? Anybody? Professor X. Yes, Christian. So this is the actor Patrick Stewart who plays Professor X. He also plays Jean-Luc Picard in the Star Trek series. This is a pretty good portrait. It looks like him. It's well done, good craftsmanship, but not much concept. So there's just some lines in the background. Doesn't really tell me the story of her hero. So what we want you to do is to create more of a story through your artwork. All right, so here's an example of the whole project done by a student. This is Paula's. She did Harry Styles. Now, Harry Styles is a pretty famous guy, and there are a lot of photos of him. So this photo, she added the butterfly element in the background, and you see how she sort of created this foliage on the bottom that crops him in. It's freestanding artwork, so it's not in a frame. And it has light gray, dark gray, black and white, and that's it. So it's pretty good. She did a good job sort of rendering this out and giving it her own sort of style, so to speak. Then after you get your grayscale done, you're going to create color relationships using those values. So monochromatic, complementary, split complementary, double complementary, analogous, triadic, final design, screen separations, and final t-shirt. So this should be exciting and fun for you. What you need to have by Wednesday is just the grayscale, right? So what you're going to be doing is thinking about who your hero is, coming up with an idea for how you're going to render it, and creating that grayscale artwork by Wednesday. Any questions right off the bat?
No, I'm all good.
All right, Omar is going to take you through some amazing techniques on how to do this. And I'm going to bow out, and I'm looking forward to seeing your work on Wednesday. Everything cool, Omar?
Everything's good.
All right, I'll see you guys Wednesday.
Thank you.